We see them later today. That matchup today actually could be almost like a scouting opportunity to see picks and things. I mean, I already mentioned we're going to be on a different patch for finals, so it's not that big of a deal, but definitely an opportunity for them to at least flaunt.
I mean, we talked about how many of the other games today don't mean a whole lot in terms of realistic standings in terms of what they affect. But what you'll see from Xenix later on today is they'll be looking to put their foot down and say, we're going to sweep Bulldog to the side. We are a team to be feared. And I think that's a good way to just prove themselves. I mean, they could even pull out some interesting compositions that we might not have seen previously. So it'll be an interesting series to watch regardless.
So into picks and bans once again for XL and MNM. Same picks, same bans that we've already seen, and then we'll continue the draft as it was. As the players either struggling to find or struggling to remember what they had banned the first time around.
Same bans, can confirm by memory, have come through here. It's going to be that Varus locked in for Jokerism as you would expect. And again, we have that Ivern and the Lulu. Now, when you pick an Ivern, Munchables, you pick an Ivern usually to have an impact in the early game, or you just find the best you can and then have an impact when you get towards your redemption or get towards, level 5 on your trigger seed. Plex is actually going to lock in the Lee Sin. They lock in the Thresh? They might not have locked in the Thresh previously.
I think that was where the client bug happened, maybe. It must have been, since this is how it's going down. It was XL's side that they had a client bug on, so I'm assuming that was it. That actually has been happening. I saw a couple of posts on Reddit where I think it was Cowsep clicked on Master Yi and then locked it in, and it was Twisted Fate, so it must have been a similar thing. Lee Sin and Corki going to be following up on the Varus, so already a lot of poke coming through from the side of XL, but then we've got the Camille locked in as well. Really
good siege. We talk about how poke has essentially become siege now in League of Legends. There's already building a nice siege composition coming out from XL. Got on a Camille. We did think that maybe Camille wouldn't be a priority for these teams, but Camille now locked in. They are going to ban out...
Speak for yourself, mate. I said right at the start this is going to be a big
all right. Well, they've banned the Fiora, which is considered the best matchup in terms of assassin versus assassin in the top lane for Tolkien. So now Tolkien won't be able to get his hands on that. And with Shen banned, there aren't many other, what you would consider in inverted commas, counters to Camille left open, which gives Tiempo a fairly sort of free laning phase, if you would say. And Camille's still very strong.
And I think a major thing to point out as well is I mentioned how these top laners are not afraid to play carries. Tiempo, Rifty, as he used to be known, he's well known for his Fiora, well known for his carry top laners. He's one of these players that wants to dominate the laning phase and then transition that further.
So now for XL, they banned the Jhin, given that they've obviously picked up the Varus and don't want to give that over. They're going to follow with the Cassiopeia. I would have expected them to try and limit that AD carry pool, but with the Ivern and the Lulu locked in, you can't really get a feel as to what MNM are going to actually pick for that AD carry. They have options. They have that Sivir, they have that Ashe, which are the two most frequented AD carries when the Jhin and the Varus are off the table. But with this sort of almost protect composition, you're not quite sure, and they are going to go for the Sivir here. So that is what you generally saw, especially the European teams pick into response for Varus.
Jokerism going to be sat there, head in his hands, tears pouring down his face.
I mean, Jokerism was the chap last year who brought out Varus before the lethality rework and stuff. So Jokerism has got some experience with Varus beyond this current meta, which I think he feels pretty at home with that situation.
I don't want to overstate it. Like, obviously, Jokerism is a commendable AD carry. He can play all of the meta picks. I'm more just alluding to he loves that Sivir. But Zyra going to be locked in for Orcs here.
This makes... I mean, Orcs, if he has got one champion that has been his standout champion in the support role, it has been Zyra. I'm interested to see what they round up their composition with in terms of the top lane. You would expect maybe a Maokai to try and help facilitate, but against a Camille, he's going to have a really tough laning phase. And Tolkien does like Maokai. Tolkien has said, when Maokai came back into meta, Tolkien was like, I enjoy playing League of Legends again because Maokai was my main a long time ago.
He was one of the only people in the world to say that sentence. Here we go, though. Gragas top locked.
Is that Hong Kong esports? It looks like he's taken some lessons from the LMS. And what Gragas...
Hey, man, it was strong.
It was strong because it doesn't have any bad matchups, really. Once you get past 2 items, it kind of flounders, but in the laning phase, doesn't really have that many bad matchups. And into Camille, you should think that Tolkien will have a decent time. I think everyone saw the play by White Knight, which is the worst League of Legends name in the world, given internet. The play by White Knight in the Challenger series, where he made that amazing barrel toss, and just essentially blew up a Maokai under turret. We'll see if the Tolkien can pull up something similar.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen here. And, Gragas versus Camille. Not a matchup many people will have seen, but definitely going to be a bit of an explosive matchup because both of these characters want to trade aggressively.
I mean, when Camille uses her wall grapple, wall hook, you can just body slam into her on the second part and you'll just end up basically negating any kind of outcome, which is fine. You always have that opportunity. I actually think Gragas' matchup into Camille is decent. Gragas actually has good matchups into most top lanes, whatsoever. So he's going to have decent shove against Camille, especially until Camille picks up a Tiamat. And if, you don't want to delay your Triforce, you might not actually pick up a Tiamat early on. So you're going to shove this Camille in quite readily here as the Gragas. And I think Tolkien knows that. I think a lot of this game's going to come down to Plex, though. He's going up against an Ivern. If his lanes can shove, which most of them, especially the bot lane, should be able to do, I mean, we might see him be able to be aggressive on Ivern and punish the early jungling sort of weaknesses that Ivern has.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at who you guys at home are going to be voting for in this first series.
Ooh,
44 to 56. That is a very close vote between these two teams. Obviously, both these squads are fan favorites.
Yeah, I mean, they've done so well as sort of brands to build their public support. So, both of them have got a lot of fans behind them.
They certainly do. And when the Twitter poll is there, it means it's that time again, Kieran. I've got to ask you, who do you think is going to take this one?
Traditionally, I'd have always gone for XL because I think everyone knows that I'm a fan of the team. But I almost would argue that MNM, when it comes down to it, always have the edge in terms of performing when it matters. And I think I can't get past that now. I can't get past the fact that whenever it comes down to when it matters, MNM are always the team to perform. So I think my vote's going to go for MNM.
I am going to agree with you on MNM for a different reason, though. The reason I'm going with MNM is all they need here is a tie. XL have to win this series 2-0, and I would say these teams are very even. I'm expecting a tie as the outcome. And in that scenario, MNM goes.
I would agree, actually. I think if I were to say an overall result for this series, it probably would be a tie. But that doesn't help XL because they need 2-0. They need 2-0 to win this. They need 2-0 to get to finals. MNM will know that if they win this game, the series is done. There's nothing that they'll do in the next series, and XL will probably have all of their motivation crushed because if they don't win this game, their chances for finals are over.
But if XL do win this game, we are going to have a very interesting second game as well. It is all on the line for these two teams as they battle for their opportunity, for their chance to head over to finals and take on Xenix, prove themselves once more, because Xenix have looked indomitable this season, and both of these teams are going to want an opportunity to kind of take it back to them, have a bit of a rematch.
And I think, like we said, we talked about the long-standing rivalry. It's been a year's worth of rivalry, you would say now, given over the last few seasons of the ESL Premiership, especially at the finals that we had last time, where they were really, really close, those two teams, and we could have potentially seen them scrap for it in terms of their sort of prestige in the UK scene. The problem is that whenever XL have come to these matches where it matters, where everything is on the line, I've always felt that they've never executed properly. They've never executed to the way that we know they've executed. And I think that something that we were discussing before broadcast was that both of these teams have potential to be the top team in the UK. They just never find the consistent performance needed.
The biggest difference is MNM have got a history where they have succeeded. They have won titles and things. XL, they're always this team that comes into the start of the season, they're very hyped up, lots of people are getting behind them, there's a lot of kind of buzz around the team, and they look like they could be a favourite moving forward in the season. But then once you get towards the end of the season, it's a bit of a Team Liquid situation and usually end up kind of third or fourth. But we are onto the rift for this series. Here we go. The grudge match begins. XL up against MNM to decide who will be going to finals.
And again, like this current meta, I think a lot of this is going to lie on those junglers. I think we need to keep an eye on how aggressive Nocturnal Plex chooses to be, because there are two types of Nocturnal Plex that exist. Nocturnal Plex who is aggressive to a
two breeds.
Nocturnal Plex that is aggressive to a reasonable extent, he makes things happen on the grab, or there's a Nocturnal Plex that goes way too ham and needs to calm down a little bit. And
well, he is playing that Lee Sin.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, but Lee Sin is one of his mains, right? Nocturnal Plex has found success on both Lee Sin and Graves. And I think if you were to give a champion of choice to Nocturnal Plex, he would probably choose Lee Sin or Graves as his two champions. There is going to be Candy Frost making an aggressive move here, though. We do have another quick pause, though, ladies and gentlemen, so hopefully get that resolved ASAP.
Yeah, should be able to head back onto the Rift and get this game back underway as soon as possible. Just want to make sure that all of the players are in tippy-top condition. There's no extra factors coming into play in this series.
I would like to keep my eye on Tolkien in the top lane with this Gragas versus Camille matchup as well, because we had discussions about this over the last week about how Gragas, how good Gragas is really. I mean, what does Gragas do realistically that is better than any other kind of top lane champion, like the Maokai, like the Shen, for instance? And what Gragas does do is he doesn't lose lane, especially when he's in these matchups.
Very true. Yeah.
Gragas has got good shove, will always pressure the enemy under turret. You know, you're naturally going to shove in every single lane matchup that you have, almost to 100% extent. And he doesn't really trade badly with anybody. So I think this is keeping an eye on Tolkien and how he plays this matchup, because I think that's going to be very important as well.
Yeah, MNM pushing aggressively into the jungle there of XL, but they don't actually drop a ward in the end. So interesting from them. Plex is going to drop a ward up towards that red buff. Not actually in the red buff, just in that little Razorbeak's brush. That
would suggest to me that he's maybe looking to catch out Candy Floss early on here, and MNM actually haven't warded to try and prevent that. It looks like Larson is hanging around. He might drop a ward on that entrance to the red side jungle, you know, as he then makes his move to... Yeah, he does. He drops a ward, and he knows that the aggressive warding pattern by Lee Sin would suggest that he wants to keep a track on Candy Floss, and Plex might want then to try and pressure Candy Floss in the jungle. Looks like it is going to be Rifty or Tiempo now heading up towards Tolkien, just to put a little bit of pressure, and also get confirmation as to where Plex is starting.
Yeah. Just getting a little bit of free damage onto that Gragas, starting things off right. Candy Floss going to be going for that oh-so-typical Ivan red buff steal here. We'll be able to just fine jump over the wall, sets up his shrine, and then just smites that one away. In the meantime, though, the other jungler, it's expected that they will go over to the other red buff and steal that one back.
Yeah, and also they had vision on both of them, so XL know that Candy Floss made that move, and MNM know that XL made that move as well. So it's just going to be a straight-up buff trade here. This is kind of what we saw Ivan do in the last month or so. He would start his own blue buff with the Friend of the Forest, and then he would then walk to the red buff and steal that with Smite, because obviously when Friend of the Forest is procced, you get an immediate Smite, which then takes that camp for free. So that's a very classic Ivan move, and actually I think Plex has responded very well in that situation.
Certainly has. It's going to even things up once again. Now, looking at this mid lane matchup, Corki versus Syndra. Generally speaking, with a Corki in the mid lane, it's always going to be a very safe matchup. You can obviously always kind of just Valkyrie out of any situations. Candy Floss, once again, finding more opportunities to steal away jungle camps. Infernal will be the first Drake, so you've got to assume that people will be looking towards this bottom half of the map.
Jokerism has to be careful here. Candy Floss has moved down. There are pings coming down here for XL. They know that that has taken place, and Candy Floss might just end up backing off. Nope, he is now heading back down towards that bot lane.
Certainly is. Jokerism's been rooted up, has to flash away. Trigger Seed pops, but can't finish off the health bar of Jokerism. Only a single defensive summoner, though.
Yeah, the flash, but not the heal, means they can stay in lane a little bit longer, but still it's actually a decent bit of success there for Candy Floss. You know, getting summoners out early means he could potentially return to that lane. I think Orcs is going to have to step up and say, well, I'm going to need good vision control down here, because especially a target as a mobile as Varus, especially going up against the slow from the Glitter Lance and the potential for burst damage coming out from the Boomerang Blade, Jokerism will have to be careful in this laning phase.
Nice bit of a trade coming out from Ludders there. Doesn't actually get his spell shield off though, and as soon as I say it's a good trade, immediately gets chunked down. So good little bit of work coming out from Orcs and Jokerism as we see these top laners bashing back and forth. We usually refer to the top lane as a bit of a wet noodle fight. Definitely not the case in this matchup.
Yeah, look at that. An early control ward coming out for Tiempo in that top lane, giving Candy Floss free entrance to that river area to potentially gank Tolkien. Looks like Plex is coming in.
Ludders in trouble here. The Thunderlords did proc, and actually going very deep for this one. Look at the damage onto Hado. Plex is seriously dishing out damage, but can't finish off these kills.
Yeah, good Hado body block coming through there. Stops anybody from having to burn the exhaust or flashes, but it will force the MNM bot lane back. Looks like Candy Floss, with that early set of wards from his trinket, is trying to get some vision down in that blue side jungle. He's now going to walk up towards this top lane here. Tolkien will spot him out with the ward, however, so he's going to remain fairly safe.
Yeah, he'll be just about okay in that top lane. That's kind of closing out the action. I say that Zivis gets hit by the Scat of the Week, but it does not stun, so Larson can't follow up. Still not level 6 in that mid lane, But after a couple more minion waves, that's when the action will really start to kick off, and Zivis will start to have to be really careful of his positioning.
Yeah, I definitely think Zivis is going to want to opt for a Hex Drinker in this matchup. Oh, Tiempo now the target here.
Yeah, here we go. Tiempo is in a lot of trouble. Flash is available if the Sonic Wave connects, though. It's not going to. Nice sidestep by Tiempo. Walks away with his life.
I almost think that Plex should have potentially looked to use the Sonic Wave before the Flash came out, because he was in a closer range. That would actually prevented the Flash entirely. He might have even be able to find the executing blow there. I definitely think Plex held on to his Sonic Wave a little bit too long in that particular situation there.
Yeah, but it is still going to be the Flash gone, so could possibly go up for a regank in just a little bit as Candy Floss once again. These aren't Plex's Raptors. These are Candy Floss's Raptors.
Yeah, he also has been spotted doing that, though, so Plex should have an idea. Tiempo now, without any flash, will be a target. Plex is coming back in here.
Yeah, going for the regank here. Tiempo just wants to fight this one out, but he does not have the damage to trade this one through. First blood goes the way of Nocturnal Plex.
There we go. Found success.
Oh,
Zivis is dead.
Larsen's got his ult, and that is an easy solo kill.
Yeah, I think Zivis should have been a little bit more careful. You can't afford to get 1v1'd in this matchup. And I was worried, you know, for Zivis in this matchup. Zivis has not found the success of 2 years ago, and Larsen is still that all-star mid lane that we know him to be.
And we mentioned it, like, what, 2 minutes ago when they were level 5. Look, the second Larsen hits level 6, you have to be very careful not to get in any kind of range of a Scat of the Week, because you will die immediately.
Looks like Plex is coming in here just to prevent that wave from going to waste. Red buff is coming back up. There has been a deep ward placed into the red side jungle of Plex, so they will be able to calculate his moves if he chooses to move towards that red buff area. But blue buff is up, and he might go to that first and hand that over to Zivis, but Zivis is working towards the Hex Drink. I think that's a sensible decision. You kind of have to in the Syndra matchup, because if you get caught by a Scat of the Week, you're probably dead 9 times out of 10, and Zivis did feel the pain of it in that last little engage.
Look at Tiempo's build path so far. 2 Doran's Blades into 2 Longswords. So investing very heavily in the laning phase with that second Doran's Blade, and then obviously wants to go for some aggressive items with the Longswords.
Yeah, maybe working towards a Serrated Dirk or something along those lines. Maybe even Lethality Camille, which we have sometimes seen, but I would be surprised if it was Lethality Camille, because generally you want to work towards the Triforce. He could even also maybe be working towards a Tiamat to make sure that he has the push potential against the Gragas, because, you know, as a Camille, you're never going to outpush a Gragas. You just don't have the ability to clear waves as rapidly as he does. So look out in the mid lane, though.
Yep, Candy Floss coming in. Once again, Zivis. He's not been having a fun time so far. Can the Scatter the Weak land? That's the question. Flashes away from the vines. Zivis will keep himself alive, but Plex might not be so lucky. Though just chunking damage on through. Will get some Honey Fruit to keep himself alive as Daisy has arrived on the scene. But both teams have to disengage. It's still just one apiece.
Daisy comes back through here. Plex probably a little bit too low to make a committing play there. Did have the flash kick available, which is probably what he was searching for, given that Haddo had already flashed. But the appearance... Oh, wow, actually, Tolkien.
Tolkien's not having any of it. He wants to go very aggressive onto Tiempo. Just needs a little bit more damage. Just waiting for those cooldowns to come up. But actually, taking a huge amount. Tiempo turns it around.
Yeah, Tolkien, I think just a little bit over-eager there. Didn't have the cooldown of his W or his E up, and Tiempo locks him in that ultimate. You get those extra basic attacks that do a lot of damage. I think just a little bit of a miscalculation by Tolkien there. Punishment he really didn't want to take, and this is what the worry for XL. This is kind of the worry that we had going into this matchup. The individual outplay potential has been higher from MNM and always has been, and you can't afford to die in the laning phase.
Yeah, Plex wanted to make sure that's not the case, but Tiempo stood inside a minion wave. There's no way to land the Sonic Wave unless you kick him out like that. Plex with the mechanical outplay.
And Plex is the one to watch in this matchup. Plex is the one that can step up and do the real work for XL here, and right now he's putting them on his back, keeping them in the game, because the laning phase has been all MNM, and it's not been even with the help of Candy Floss. They've been doing it by themselves. Another pause comes through. Tiempo just has to reconnect.
Rage quit.
I can't believe I got flash kicked.
I'm assuming it's not actually a rage quit. I'm sure it's. I'm sure he'll be back momentarily to get this game underway once more. As try and get confirmation as to what's happening, but I assume it's technical issues at his end. But it's been an interesting one so far. We've had a fair bit of action. Not that many kills on the count so far, but Plex as you said a minute ago, definitely has been the one to watch.
Yeah, and I think he's been the one that's essentially keeping XL from falling behind here, because MNM have been getting solo kills, which in a game that is supposed to be this close should not be happening. You should not be losing your lives in a 1v1 matchup in the mid lane and a 1v1 matchup in the top lane. And it was a mistake by Ziviz, right? He made a mistake of kind of disrespecting the all-in potential of Larssen without any magic resist. You know, he had only got that Doran's Blade. He disrespected the all-in from the Sivir. And then again, in the top lane, it was a complete turnaround for Tolkien. He had the upper hand, he went a little bit aggressive, took all the minion damage, and Rifty outplayed very hard with that ultimate from the Camille.
So we'll see how Plex can turn this lead into something more. See what he can do with this advantage that he's managed to glean for himself. Infernal Drake's still not been touched so far in this game, as the gold is almost dead even here. Very close start to things, and when you look at the CS numbers across the board, there are a couple of leads, but nothing too significant. The major lead is here in the mid lane. Larssen versus Ziviz.
Caster's Curse, though, it looks like with the appearance of Ziviz in the top lane, it is going to be going up towards the Infernal Drake here for Candy Floss. Has got Daisy out to do the tanking for him, so they're going to start this one up.
Yeah, they should be able to take this just about for free. Plex is nearby. He's in that mid lane.
There is a ward for XL.
Real way for him to contest. He can't get there in time. That will be an Infernal Drake taken here for MNM. By the looks of things, there's absolutely no punish from XL. They don't take anything in trade.
The issue for XL there is that they actually...
Oh, Ziviz is in trouble. That's going to be Unleashed Power. Hex Drinker early, though, will keep him alive.
He needs to stop getting caught in the scat of the week. He's just getting far too close to Larssen. I think he needs to realize that 1v1, he's not going to make the trades necessary. He needs to just be poking from range. Although Plex comes in here.
Yeah, very aggressive from Plex. Will force out an exhaust, and I think that's all he was aiming for on that one. He knew Ziviz wasn't going to be able to follow. Just removing the pressure from his mid laner.
There we go. The Tiamat as well, like we thought coming out for Tiempo, needs to have that push potential versus the Gragas. If you get shoved in by Gragas 24/7, you're not going to have a great time in this laning phase. The reason XL lost in that Infernal Drake, by the way, was that the back timers from Jokerism and Orcs weren't quite lined up with what the team was trying to do. Ziviz moving to the top lane with the package meant that, you know, there was always going to be the pressure on the Infernal Drake by MNM, and with Jokerism and Orcs backing at that point in time, unfortunately, they gave up all pressure that they could achieve despite it being warded.
So now we're going to be trying to glean an advantage for either team, and it's going to be MNM on the front foot. Tolkien has been caught up in the Hextech ultimatum, knocks everybody out though, and that means he is free as well. We've seen this matchup picked for that exact interaction, but he's going to be rooted once more, out of summoners and just about out of HP. Tempo flashes, but it's Candy Floss that gets the kill.
Yeah, but here comes Plex and Ziviz. They have got a lot of damage behind them, and there are literally no summoner spells left right now for MNM. Plex with the kick has been nerfed, so he doesn't want to go all in on a fairly high HP target, and Ziviz has lost that package, so there isn't any way for him to engage readily and rapidly. And again, XL just losing out in the laning phase kind of has been an issue for them in the past, and it seems to be creeping back into this very, very vital series.
Yeah, landed the Sonic Wave, but it would have been a very risky situation to go further forward on Ziviz. Hasn't been having a fun time of it, so he's not feeling that strong. Having to go for a defensive item first, not the ideal build path for him.
I'm not sure why Tolkien didn't just flash over as soon as he saw Candy Floss appear and try and flank him. He had his flash available. And obviously there was the risk of the wall hook across the wall, but he was then closer to his turret and probably could have made an easier escape with that body slam. But he did not, and he paid for it with his life and his flash eventually anyway.
Yeah, did end up going down. So 0-2 on Tolkien right now. We mentioned how this top lane would be action-packed. There's been 2 deaths on either side. Candy Floss been very active on the map, and he wants to make things happen, but can't find anything here in the bottom lane.
Warding for MNM has been very, very good as well. They've got a lot of aggressive wards coming through into the blue side jungle, and XL have really only got ward coverage on that bottom side of the map. They have really been struggling to get a good warding presence in areas that really matter. And also, massive CS differences started to open up in that mid lane as well. I mean, 20 CS down now for Ziviz. He's not having a good time against Larssen. Yeah,
the mid lane is really what this game has been all about. It's been about the junglers and how they've affected the mid lane. But the kill that went down was Larssen solo killing Ziviz. But it wasn't necessarily Larssen outplaying Ziviz. It was Ziviz playing too far forward, playing too aggressive, and Larssen just knowing that he could easily punish that.
You don't win a trade versus a Syndra as a Corki easily. You really don't. So you need to poke from range with your missiles and then try and find an all-in when it becomes relevant. If you try and go scrapping toe-to-toe pre-6, and even just post-6, you're not going to find much love in that particular situation, and Ziv has definitely felt the brunt of that in this particular matchup against Larssen.
We'll be able to keep on farming away. Still currently 20 CS down. Not a fun situation. Look at this. People starting to head towards this bottom lane. Larssen and Candy Floss going to be coming on through. They know that Zivers has just head back to base and they want to capitalize on that situation. Chains of Corruption come down. Plex is here as well. We've got a bit of a battle going on as teleports will be channeled as well. Tonkin's come in and it's going to be Haddo flashing away on a mere inch of his life, but Tolkien's rooted up. They're trying to re-engage for this one. Daisy will fall. And I think both teams are going to end up disengaging. Candy Floss does get rooted up, gets knocked back as well, and will be the first casualty of the fight. XL, they want to turn it into more. They only get one, but can they get a tower?
This is the thing. Zivers has got his package available, and that means that they're going to be very careful from MNM. There's the poke coming through, the siege starting to work. Zivers now takes the aggressive position here, Munchables. Is he going to try and look for the engage with the package?
Has that package, and it means that he can push very far forward aggressively, and it means that he can retreat if he needs to, and also zoom straight back across toward the mid lane.
Yeah, there we go. Really nice turn of events there. And that's what Gragas does so well. He's got such a good early game presence. He came in completely turned around. Little bit of miscommunication because both Plex and Tolkien looked for the reposition on Candy Floss at exactly the same time. And that involved Plex using a flash kick that he didn't necessarily need to do given that the barrel had already done the work for him. But it achieves the end of getting first brick and actually puts XL into the driving seat for the first time in this game.
XL front foot forwards, but it's only a 700 gold difference. Let's not get too excited. Zivers gets rooted up, but there's no follow-up from Larssen. He's heading back to base. And this is an opportunity now for Zivers to close that CS gap ever so slightly.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that he has needed to do because Larssen has had the advantages in that mid lane completely. Jokerism now initiates the lane swap coming through here, so now they're going to start to put pressure onto Tiempo in that top lane. MNM will respond very quickly though. It looks like already you're seeing Ludders and Haddo head up towards the top to defend against this shove coming out from the Jokerism. And obviously Orcs.
I really like this as well because they've already got that bottom tower. Okay, what objective is next? Top lane tower. Let's rotate our AD carry up there and start to get the pressure down.
Oh, they are going to ping out and see Syndra heading up toward the top lane. It was a nice use of the vision there from Zivers, and actually that will result in Larssen heading back down towards the mid. Oh, look at those arrows really starting to hurt at this point in time.
He's already got the Ghost Blade, now he's got a pickaxe on top of it. This is where the damage really starts to come out. Once he finishes that Edge of Night, that's when it really starts to get scary. Larssen misses the stun though, and that's a green light for Zivers to start an aggressive trade.
That's literally in a nutshell right there, Munchables. It is green light once you miss the scat of the week for the Corki. If you get locked up in the scat of the week, you lose the trade. If you dodge it 9 times out of 10, you can take a favorable trade, and that actually forces out the exhaust coming out early from Larssen because the Sorcerer's Boots are through and the Sheen is through, so it's actually really, really good trading tools for Larssen in that mid lane.
Larssen will be heading back to base once again here as Tolkien, he's starting to get tanky now. He's finished his Sunfire Cape. He can soak up those minions quite comfortably. There's not a whole lot that Tempo is going to be able to do about it. It was heading towards the Hydra there, the Tiamat coming through for Tempo, and now going for a Trinity Force.
Candy Floss really, really hanging around this top side of the map, given that XL are now the ones trying to put the pressure on with their Siege and their poke coming out from Varus. There is always that really scary engage potential of the ultimate coming out from Ludders on this Sivir, so they always have to be careful that they don't overstep because you are it's very easy to engage on a Varus as a Sivir, especially if you're the one trying to run forwards. You can spell shield his ultimate, and obviously Varus is quite immobile, realistically. He's not a very mobile carry, so if you can put the pressure on him with the Sivir ultimate, Jokerism is going to have to be careful in this top lane.
Now we're starting to see some items finished up across the board. Luden's Echo finished for Larssen. He's also got that Lost Chapter for a bit of mana regen. But on the other side of things, there's less convincing. We've got Zivers was forced into the Hex Drink early, so still hasn't finished his Triforce. Similar situation for Tempo. And we've got the Sunfire Cape for Tolkien, but no, you know, the Sunfire Cape doesn't make you a threat necessarily, it just makes you harder to kill.
It's more about Gragas' base damages that make him so good in the early game. You know, you do a lot of damage with your Drunken Rage, Your barrels do quite a bit of damage early on, but once we get past the 2-item mark, he's not going to be able to duel effectively versus Tiempo, especially on this Camille, so we're going to have to see how that transpires. XL realistically are going to find success if they get these early towers and start to rotate as a team, because their sort of prowess is in their ability to use this long-range siege potential of the Varus and the Corki to their advantage against a team that needs to use that Sivir ultimate to pull the trigger. Both teams do well. You know, if you can find an engage as MNM with the Sivir ultimate, you can actually put pressure onto XL because they rely on their long range. And with this, it looks like they're actually going to be able to get this turret in the top lane.
Not
nearly.
Quite. Luders arrives and manages to clear those waves, but just a couple more minion waves and that will go down. Just a couple more autos onto that tower. It will be the end of that objective. But it's going to be the question of what can MNM trade for it, because right now it's a dragon to a tower on the board. MNM can't afford to fall just 2 towers down, but they are going to do so. They don't even contest the wave. That means that XL have taken their 2nd tower without any contention.
MNM have been forced into very defensive vision positions here, you can see in the top lane. So they had no idea whether Plex was waiting to gank in that top lane. And with it being on such low HP, it might have been risky for them without the support of Candy Floss there to try and stop that tower from going down. So XL get this slight advantage here. But what is encouraging for MNM is despite the fact they have no towers, they're only about 1,500 gold behind, which is not a lot of gold to recover. If you can pick up 1 tower, you're almost level with XL at this point in time. So they won't be worrying too much.
No, they're not doing too bad, but we've got to once again have a look over towards Plex because the guy is 3-0-0. He's having a phenomenal game for himself. He's the reason that his team is ahead on gold. And the question really is going to be, with the Lee Sin, sometimes it gets difficult to have an impact once teams start to group up. How is he going to be able to continue to impact the game? Do we expect to just see him doing crazy mechanical outplays like an insect just to start things off?
The thing is, for a team fight, I don't really think XL want to team fight. The longer they can avoid it, the better. Because you're going up against a very, very team fight orientated composition with the Ivern, who's now got his Lock at the Iron Solari and got his Redemption. You're going up against a Sivir and a Syndra who are going to be devastating in a 5-on-5 situation. So if XL can siege and avoid team fights for as long as possible, that's better for them, realistically.
Yeah, we do have Candy Floss in that bottom lane. Wants to make something happen onto Tolkien, but I don't think he's going to find an opportunity here. I don't think Tolkien's going to fall for this one. He's happy to just stay under that tower and farm up all day long. Tempo getting some nice trades across, and Candy Floss has found his way further into that lane. But again, Tolkien, he's happy to stay under that tower. Maybe we see a dive, though. Daisy's available.
Definitely, you know, has the potential, but with Plex waiting in the sidelines, actually Tiempo now going to start to back away.
Yeah, that minion wave was dying out. It was an endangered species, and now it is extinct. That means that Tempo had to back away from that situation. Grouping up in the mid lane, though. XL still foot on the accelerator when it comes to these towers.
Yeah, and they are sieging very nicely. They've got the huge poke coming out of the Corki and the Varus. Doesn't look like MNM are able to respond very easily as Plex starting to continue to put pressure on Candy Floss. Actually forces the redemption out of him.
I think Candy Floss was assuming that that was going to be a much more aggressive advance here. Yeah. And this game so far has just been a matter of XL simply better when it comes to macro so far. MNM have been the ones that have been better in terms of those mechanical outplays, in terms of the actual laning phase. Like Larson consistently 1v1.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think if XL don't continue the pressure, you're going to get to a point where these mechanical and individual performances become more and more relevant, and that's where MNM will start to shine. If XL can snowball a global gold advantage that can kind of put a little bit of a, I guess, makeup over the fact that they seem to be getting outplayed on a one-on-one basis, then, you know, that gold advantage at the macro play, it makes up for it. But if they don't push that advantage, if they don't get more towers under their belt, if they don't get more objectives under their belt, you're going to get to a point where it comes down to these scrappy, skirmish-based team fights or split-pushing pressure, where you think MNM probably have that advantage.
So now, 2 towers still in the bank here for XL. They want to finish off that extra mid-tower, but with Ludders there, it's going to be very difficult. Tempo getting a good couple of chunks out onto this tower in the bottom lane, but he's actually going to be tanking the tower himself. It's the tactical sweep, which will zone Tolkien away, but the objective is once again denied.
Yeah, Tolkien heading towards what looks to be an Iceborne Gauntlet or a Frozen Heart. You would imagine he might move towards an Iceborne Gauntlet to be able to deal with Tiempo a little bit more readily on a one-on-one basis. Oh my god, the damage forces the heal out.
Luders, actually, it's going to be lost and locked up by Chain of Corruption. Has to flash away as the Strangled Thorns come down. Luders only just survived that situation. Got the heal, got a couple of shields from his team as well. That was dicey territory. And now Candyfloss has gone way too deep. Has to flash away himself. Daisy's gone down and Plex is going in. Flashes for the kick onto Larson. And it's a trade 1-for-1. Both members have been huge damage sources for their team. And now Haddo's going to be chased as well. So low, but the chickens are blocking the rockets.
The chickens are blocking the rockets.
Not a sentence I expected to say today.
There's so many shields that you have to get through here for XL. MNM, even if they were caught badly there, even if they didn't quite look like they had the upper hand, there was still about 50 health bars that XL almost had to chunk through before they were even threatening lethal damage on multiple members for MNM. And look at this, I mean, Tiempo didn't even need to respond. He might even end up getting 2 turrets here, and that's a massive loss for XL.
Yeah, XL needed to win that fight because it wasn't a full fight, right? Tiempo was just split pushing that entire time, and now he wants the 1 versus 1. Both players are out of cooldowns though, and Tiempo just says, do you know what? I don't want to risk
Rifty
this.
played that so well. He literally used the ultimate to block the Drunken Rage hit there. Let's have a look at that replay. As you can see, Candyfloss a little bit over-aggressive, has to flash away, but you can see every time a lethal damage was searched for, there was always another shield for XL. That's why they only ended up getting 1 kill out of the entire fight. And Plex again went deep with that flash kick. He was the one that paid the price for it. Looks like he's heading towards a Mormon Mortius as his second item, really putting on the pressure as a more aggressive Lee Sin build. The Lee Sin build that we saw made popular during Worlds, where you kind of went warriors into Mormon Mortius straight away. Peanut, very famous for making that sort of work for him on a regular basis. Struggles for XL though. MNM still looking like they're sort of a very, very difficult team to beat, even on the teamfight basis, where XL seem to be having a little bit more success.
Yeah. MNM basically saying, do you know what? Who needs macro play when we can just 4v5 you and take 2 towers wherever Tiempo is?
The other issue is you got a Camille, and no one seems to be able to deal with Camille's ability to just shove these turrets in on a side lane.
Had Tolkien done a bit better in lane, this wouldn't be as much of an issue because he'd be much more comfortable in that 1v1. But because he died twice, because Tiempo managed to get himself a kill and an assist, and they're just about even in farm, it becomes a much more significant issue for XL.
It is a pretty significant issue, and it's going to be worse and worse as the game goes on. You know, you leave a Camille in a side lane, she will rip through turrets, especially with the Precision Protocol and the Triforce. And Tolkien can't duel her anymore. I mean, Tolkien's probably got to the point where he's unable to win 1v1 trades. So either XL start forcing turrets by diving, but that's risky because you've got to go against Lulu with the shield, the ultimate, the Candyfloss's Ivern, and with the Redemption, now the Athenes and the Locket of the Iron Solari. You have got to try and at least burst through double most of these health pools before you come out on top. So, I mean, XL, I don't feel like they're going to be in an incredibly strong position going forward here.
Titanic Hydra as well for Tiempo will help him clear those waves ever so quickly, and that will be a tower going down. MNM finding another objective. Ziviz has been stunned up and will be finished off. The kill goes to Luders as he flashes away from the Varusol. And it's easy pickings for MNM as they get an objective and a kill, and suddenly they're the ones in the lead for the towers.
And I don't feel like... I almost feel like the time has passed now for XL. They had that very small window of opportunity where they could rotate and take turrets with this siege, but now they can't deal with Tiempo. They seem to be losing on a teamfight basis because this teamfight composition for MNM is just too strong. I'm not sure where XL go from here. The Varus arrows are starting to hurt though. That could be an almost potential winning avenue for them, but it takes a little while now before Jokerism is put into a position where he can get these off consistently.
Yeah, let's just remember what kind of situation XL is in the tournament right now. They can't afford to drop a single game. They have to 2-0 this series if they want to go to finals. And right now, MNM, they're the ones to be talking about. They're the ones that are ahead in this game.
And MNM have played this really well. And they responded very nicely to the pressure that XL put down earlier. I've got to say, even if Rifty is 1-2-1, he has been an absolute beast in this side lane. Consistently finding objectives for MNM when XL were trying to make work happen across the map. And this composition that they've built as well makes it very hard for this poke composition from XL to actually get work done, because as long as you're shielding the poke coming out from Varus, as long as you're shielding the poke coming out from Ziviz, you're actually playing a war of attrition that will find XL very hard to win, you know?
And even just in the bottom lane, look at the difference in CS between Jokerism and Ludders. Ludders doing a phenomenal job on this Sivir. 2 kills up as well. Nearly 1 and a bit thousand ahead of Jokerism right now. A significant lead for him. And generally fairly even across the board.
The longer you go, though, the more threatening Sivir is going to become. And she's nearly at 4 items. Once Sivir is at 4 items, she becomes absolutely devastating.
I do think we have to not get too carried away right now. The gold lead, it's only just about 2,000 right now, so it's not the end of the world. XL can definitely stay in this game. They aren't too far behind. But there's just a lot of factors right now in favor of MNM.
Look at Tiempo going in onto Tolkien here.
Yeah, we'll be able to get a fairly favorable trade. Tolkien should be able to just ult this, but it's knocked against the wall. Tempo with nice positioning there, but this trade is still just very even between the two. Tempo just about wins out, but very difficult to have kill pressure up against Agragas.
They're going for Baron here. They will be spotted out though, so they might end up backing off. The Sivir ultimate comes through. Not going to find the engage though.
Yeah, not convinced by the ult there from Ludders. But Baron will be stopped in the end. They decide this isn't a safe objective. This would be a very silly thing to do, especially against Elise.
Absolutely, but you do have that vision control that the Ivern provides to you with that Rushmaker. They are going to go for it once more here. Daisy is out. XL will be responding. This is a risky Baron call from MNM.
Yeah, they know what's going off. Chains of Corruption doesn't land. Plex has gone down. That's the jungler drop. Ziv is exhausted and forced away from the fight. MNM, they haven't got the Baron, but they have got themselves a kill. 1v1 still going on. Tempo actually missing his W, and Tolkien finds the 1v1.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a mistake from Tiempo there. And Tolkien gets away and picks up the solo kill. XL need to play to their advantages. They didn't need to look for an engage there. They could have just used the Jokerism arrow from the Varus, used the Ziviz rockets just to try and poke as much as they could. The problem that they face is they're facing a lot of shielding, a lot of healing, and a lot of potential deterrents for this poke from XL, which is why it makes it a lot harder to make the XL composition work, because they're not an all-in composition. What's really good against shielding is a lot of bursts. You can burst through the shields, you don't allow them to get them back off rotation to consistently have an effect. Poke is not designed to do that. Poke is designed to be a war of attrition. When you've got shielding, you almost blanket that war of attrition on a level pegging. So it's going to be basically XL trying to poke and MNM shielding that poke, XL trying to poke and MNM shielding that poke, and it's going to consistently be like that, which is why the MNM composition is just slightly better at dealing with what XL bring to the table.
Now, both teams starting to move their eyes over towards Baron. They want to make sure that they've got vision control of that area, or at very least vision of that area. Ziv is going to be able to clear away the control ward that was down for MNM. Actually clearing away all vision entirely. Plex does actually get away from that one. I was worried he was going to get stunned under the Baron there, but he's just about okay. And
again, Plex has had a really, really, really solid performance.
Edge of Night finished for Plex as well.
Wow, okay. Yeah, he wasn't going for the Mormon Mortius then, hasn't he? He's just finished the Egg Drinker and left it at the Edge of Night. Looks like it's going to be a Baron call here. There's another risky Baron call for MNM. Sorry, rather for XL, because MNM are going to respond very, very quickly.
Ludus is here. Candy Floss is nearby as well. They're going for this one. Half health on the Baron. They need to back away, though, because the hard engage is going to come through for MNM. Candy Floss has arrived. Daisy comes on in. This is going to be a smite battle between the two junglers. Candy Floss knocked away. Can they finish off the Baron? 2,000 left. Tempo onto Ziviz gets the kill. It's going to be the Baron going the way of Plex, though, as XL managed to steal that one away in the end. Plex actually just recalls Tempo with a double. 2 kills for a Baron.
Is it worth it for XL? What can they do with this Baron? It was a great response by MNM and a very, very risky Baron call. And MNM are going to go straight down the mid lane searching for this inhibitor. They've got 30 seconds to do so. You would imagine XL give up this inhibitor entirely in this position. It might not have been worth it to make that trade.
Yeah, the biggest issue is they've lost both of their carries. That's all of their wave clear gone down. Daisy will fall, and these Baroned up minions will be a pain to deal with, but Orcs is still there. Tempo in the meantime going to be split pushing off in a different lane. Tolkien just trying to zone people away. They've managed to do it, though. They managed to hold on to these inhibs.
Yeah, actually, but look at Rifty in the side lane, or Tiempo. Look at the damage that Camille does to these structures. You leave her alone for 5 to 10 seconds, that is going to be a tower going down. XL saved the inhibitor, but they do lose structures for that Baron. And you have to worry that that was an example of what a team fight will look like between these two teams, especially when Tiempo is actually involved. And I think that was actually the first team fight that Tiempo was involved in. And it was devastating for the backline of XL.
Yeah, certainly was. But you do also have to bring up the counterpoint of both Tolkien and Plex were focused on finishing the Baron. They were focused on getting that objective. So it wasn't a perfect example of what the team fight will look like. And we'll see whether XL in future team fights will have a better looking situation. But they do have this Baron buff, and they've got a Corki and a Varus. The siege situation is what we've got to look at.
I still think XL will want to avoid team fighting as much as possible. They just want to keep firing those arrows, firing those rockets. If the Sivir ultimate comes down, you have the kick and the barrel to disengage with. I think that's ideally where XL want to find themselves. You have the disengage potential of the Stranglethorns as well, and obviously that's really good against Sivir, because if they run over the Stranglethorns, you can separate up the team. Here goes, oh my word!
Tiempo's already got a kill onto Jokerism. There's nothing they can do. Orcs is going to be locked up as well. There's the disengage gone. Plex now trying to escape with his life. He has to flash, and MNM, they're looking to run down XL, and they're looking to run down XL's hopes of making it to finals. Ziv is trying to trade this back, but there's not a lot he can do. Tolkien arrives, though, to save his mid laner, but not for long, as Ziv goes down on the back line, and Tolkien will pay with his life. It's another kill for Larson, and it will be the mid lane in him.
It's not even the mid lane, this is game for MNM. They have secured their place in the final right now, and I don't think there's anything XL can do about it.
Here we go, they're going to try and shove this one in. Plex, the last man remaining. He's got to try something, but I don't think there's really anything he can do about it. MNM have managed to take this one. Plex on the backline finally goes down. The Nexus will fall. And it's MNM versus Xenix for our finals.
Heartbreak for XL once more. Forever the bridesmaid, never the bride. And MNM will find themselves in a position where they can secure themselves potentially as the top team in the UK once more, but they have to go up against tough opposition. You have to say that individual mistakes crept into XL's game, and you've got to say outplays were very, very frequent in the laning phase for MNM. Rifty, Tiempo, Rifty especially, had a fantastic game. We talked about whether Camille was very much worth a ban. Camille was probably very much worth a ban in this particular game. I do think that Rifty himself was one of the biggest influences in how this game went. You see, every time these teamfights broke out, Tiempo was the one blowing people up in the backline, dealing with Varus, dealing with Corki. It was the perfect pick into the composition that XL were trying to create, as well as this double shielding composition, which made the poke very difficult for XL to land.
And I mean, one